Farmers are protesting as the Prime Minister Keir Starmer says, and I quote, he will defend the budget all day long. Keir Starmer said he'd defend the budget all day long at the Welsh Labour Conference amid protests by farmers outside the venue. In his first address to the Welsh Labour Conference since taking power, the Prime Minister went on to hail a path of change with Labour governments in Wales and Westminster, and this is what he said. Make no mistake, I will defend our decisions in the budget all day long. I will defend facing up to the harsh light of fiscal reality. I will defend the tough decisions that would be necessary to stabilise our economy, and I will defend protecting the pay slips of working people, fixing the foundations of our economy and investing in the future of Britain and the future of Wales, finally turning the page on austerity once and for all. But angry farmers held a tractor protest outside the conference opposing the inheritance tax changes that the Chancellor Rachel Reeves unveiled in the budget. Let's discuss this with Liz Webster, founder of Save British Farming. Liz, hello. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, Vanessa.
Hello. Explain why the future of British farming and even potentially the supply chain of food is going to be affected by what is what the government is about to impose on you.
Farming has already been under a lot of stress over the last few decades with the power of the supermarkets driving down prices. And then we've had Brexit, which has been very, very difficult. Subsidies have been removed and we've got food coming in, undercutting us, which is subsidised because every country in the world subsidise is food in particular, because we all need food. Without food, we die. And so we've removed that support and they've put focus on the environment, but that's been a very bad transfer through that. And so the support from full farming is watering away, and we're finding it harder and harder to make a living. And it's incredibly risky because the numbers involved in farming are phenomenal. You wouldn't believe how eye-watering it is. Just go out and look at the prices of these things. And so it's like gambling. And that's what I always say to my husband. This is massively risky. And the weather is against us. And I feel heartbroken that when COVID struck and we had those empty shelves, we had people clapping us. We produce the food for the British people through that difficult time.
Yes.
The world is in chaos. Never have we needed food security as much as we do now since the last war. And everybody's thinking that they want us to pay inheritance tax. Well, you can't eat inheritance tax. And what the government will get from this pays the NHS for a day and a half out of a year. It is a pernicious assault on British farming, British food, British rural way of life. And it's really throwing away our control and food sovereignty, because we will have to go pleading to world markets. And once you're doing that, those world markets will say, well, you need this food, Britain, so we'll charge you whatever we like. And we can be held to ransom. So I would urge this government to think again. They can exempt farmers who earn the majority of their income from farming. Then people like Clarkson will not be protected, because we all know he earns a lot more money from the television than he does from farming. So there are ways out of this, but everybody's focused on the value of the farm. You don't ever think about the value of a hospital. A farm is producing your food, and the bigger that farm, the more food in our system that people rely on. And so that's what people, instead of thinking, oh, I don't like those farmers, who's going to replace us? You're going to be paying massive corporations in Brazil who farm in really different ways to us to feed you. And once they've got control of us, there'll be no turning back from that price control that we won't have. What you have from your British farmers is the ability to lobby them. And that has driven up standards. We have these fantastic schemes where you know where the food has come from. You'll kiss goodbye to all of that. I mean, for me as a consumer, because I eat as well as farming, I'm terrified of what we're going to be left with.
Tell me though, Liz, in real terms, what this means. Does it mean that sons and daughters and nephews and nieces will just say, hang it, I'm not doing this. No, we can't afford it. It's not viable. And so this farm will go, I don't know, they'll build luxury flats on it, and this farm will be entirely arable, and this farm will go over to something else because we're just not going to continue. Is that what the effect is predicted to be of this imposition of inheritance tax?
Every farm is different. And certainly for some, I think this will be the final straw. But it's a way of life. And for generations, I mean, my husband's family have farmed for centuries. And all of that knowledge is passed down generation to generation. I have Americans coming on this farm who walk through a footpath. They cry almost, because you can't walk on farms in America, and they just can't believe how amazing the food is over here and what we actually do. And this is the real identity of being British. And to throw all of that away, to then sort of be reliant on the massive, big corporations, Cargill and so forth, that's what we will be doing. It's a total loss of control and a total loss of Britain.
One last question, Liz. The Prime Minister says, I'm sticking by everything that happened in this budget. I'm 100% behind every particle of it. And we've got people protesting, farmers protesting in tractors outside. What's your response to you stick with every single word of that budget, Prime Minister, that you can say on the radio that isn't obscene, obviously?
I think he's being incredibly arrogant and tin-eared. He's not listening. The polls all show us that the majority are actually behind the farmers and high food standards. For many years, we've got continued polling, which shows that people want to eat good food. So I would urge Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves and Steve Reed and others to really think again, because they're handing a gift to the opposition. His ratings are in the bin anyway, and it's almost as if they want to hand away control. Sri Lanka made terrible decisions on food in recent times, in 2021, and they ended with the government being chased out of town. And the same is likely to happen to Keir Starmer and others. They won't finish the term. So think again, Keir Starmer. Do a U-turn. Do what is sensible.
Liz Webster, thank you very much indeed. Liz Webster there, founder of Save British Farming.